Okay, stream. Got it. There you go.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. I think we are live. We're streaming from Zoom today, which is something quite unusual for us nowadays. But there we go. I'm just checking to make sure we are live. Yes, I can see we are live. I hope everyone has moved over from StreamYard and moved over to Zoom, because we can't really see our live chat from here. But anyway, happy Sunday. Welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa, and welcome to Caleb Jade Show. Hello, Caleb. How are you doing?
I'm here.
I'm very happy you're here. Barely. But we're all here, just barely. It's Sunday. So I'm very happy to have you back, because I know on Thursday we had a bit of a problem with the internet, and I know you also still got a few internet problems, but we're hopefully going to be seeing them through today. So, yeah, it's really good to have you back, and we want to carry on with the 9 live, or this the ships, what ships again? Yeah, the ships, right? The live ships. Living ships. Yeah, very interesting. So, Caleb, over to you.
First, I think we need to pray.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. Thank you for another chance to share. Thank you that a way is made, even though it's not the usual way for this video. I ask you for strength and for healing and for peace. Just help me calm down and help everybody just have a decent chat. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Yeah, we're all good. We're all good. So I think everyone understands that when we've got internet issues, it happens. So take a breath and just go ahead. So, Caleb, I'm just interested to know, we chatted a little bit about the 9 living ships. We were actually moving, we were from Thursday's show, we were talking about that. But before that, we were actually talking about that flight MH370, I do believe it is, Malaysia flight that in 2014, MH370 that disappeared in 2014, which was looked like, when you're looking at the footage, 3 orbs surrounding it, and then the next thing, it just disappears into nothingness. It seems like these orbs have just kind of teleported it away. And also, just when we're looking upon further investigation, what they're saying is that it actually went to Maldives, that it actually landed. I mean, there were witnesses that were saying they saw this flight appearing in Maldives, but of course the witnesses were silent and stuff like that. And there's a lot of talk about it being the US military that's doing it. And my question is why, So yeah, if you can just maybe talk us through that a little bit, I'd appreciate that.
I don't have the why for you, other than the fact that they just knew that they could do it. Sure, it's not the first time it's happened.
Yeah. In your experience, though, I mean, why? I mean, I know you. I'm not necessarily talking about the specifics of the why for that particular flight, but I think it's becoming more and more abundantly clear to us that this is not the first time, it's not the only time, and that the military is doing things like this. They're hiding stuff from the general public. I know, especially the American taxpayer is fitting the bill for these things to happen. Can you give us maybe more information from your experience, what you know, as to these things that are going on, and literally kept as classified information by the CIA?
Well, I don't have a link handy for that news article that talks about the 9 ships that they say they found. It has everything to do with that. I don't have that link anymore. It's on the other chat. If you look in the Google chat, I know that link's there. I don't know if you can share it or not.
Yeah, Morné, do you still have that link? That you could maybe just share it. That one where they're talking about the nine living ships. Yeah. So how's that related to what that disappearing aircraft could be? What is the connection between all of this stuff?
Technology. The article's not about 9 living ships, but they're acknowledging that they found 9 ships with bodies and technology involved. They found more than just 9 ships. It's like saying Area 51 is the only area that's secret. That's the 51st area. They publicly acknowledged it's there. There's 50 other places that you don't know about.
Well, do you know about the 50 other places?
I don't know all of them, but I know a few of them.
Are you prepared to share with us what you know about I mean, it's always, I know that you and I did briefly talk about this the other day. I mean, I've always thought about, okay, Area 51, there's either something very significant about the number 51, or there's like 50 others before that have also got a whole lot of dodgy things going on there. And I'd be interested to know what those things are. So if there are others, 49, 48, 47, 1, 2, 3, whatever, what do you know about what is there?
Well, they're secret areas, I can say that much.
Yeah, they would be secret. Can you tell us what's happening there, or give us an idea? Yeah.
Jessie has talked about some of them. I'm not going to try to stomp all over her research.
Are we talking about like...
I didn't know everything. I just knew what I knew. Experience. It wasn't wearing a lab coat, working in the lab someplace.
Okay, so
in other words, I can't really talk about it right. That's what I keep trying to point out here.
I understand that. I do understand. I'm just wondering what you can tell us. Okay. But I know what Jessie has mentioned to us in the past is also like she's spoken quite a bit about the water bases with that, or the water base. That's the only one she's really given us any disclosure on. So would that be a similar type thing where we are dealing with that kind of stuff? Is that what we're talking about, like when we're also looking at some of the other numbers, right?
Sure.
Right. They're creating like these monstrous creatures. They doing stuff to sharks. They're putting like supersonic stuff in them, sharks, which makes them more aggressive. Dolphins, whales, stuff like that. Dragons, all sorts of creatures in the water. Is that, are we on the right track there when we're talking about these things?
Let's talk about it some other time. I'll try to stay on track.
All right. Well, then let's talk about the nine ships, the living ships. Can you talk to us about that?
Can I finish the backstory about it first? You want me to just talk about just the ships?
No, we can go for the backstory, obviously.
Well, it's in South America where we started this all. Started about 1996. Some of the Bush wars, if you want to call them that, were started by the U.S. government. because they were supporting both sides like they do almost everywhere on the whole face of the planet. And we were sent down there to follow after one of these groups called the Shining Path. They're a Marxist bunch that want to overthrow every government down. And we followed them around for a while, and they kept disappearing into the jungle. They just vanished without a trace. So we started to wonder why that is. So we followed them a little closer and talked to some of the locals about their activities. By talk to locals, I mean we paid them. They didn't say anything to us unless we paid them a lot of money. So we did upwards of $100,000 per person to tell us information. And they finally gave up the information that they were going into tunnels underground. Bear in mind, this is before the known fact that most of South America is one giant city. The entire continent is one giant city. It's just been buried from the flood. That's a known fact these days. It's something you can look up. They would disappear into these, I would call them the sewers of these cities, and pop up in different places. You know, that was my first foray into the underground. Any questions?
I'm good. You can carry on. I'm good. I don't think I have any questions around that. I mean, what you're saying is in 1996, basically in South America, you were informed, or you followed basically what's something called the Shining Path, right? And you obviously were given information on tunnels and stuff that was happening there, and the locals were paid large amounts of money, or you guys paid the locals large amounts of money to give you information about what they were seeing there. So I'd be interested to know what information they gave you actually.
Well, they gave us the information anybody who's an informant would give you. Yeah, they're here. Yeah, they're there. Yeah, they're over here. Yeah, they do this. This is when they do it. This is how they do it. That kind of stuff. They took us to locations where they'd come up out of it, that kind of thing. We started to uncover these tunnels, this tunnel. And they weren't thousands of feet deep like we found later. We're literally talking like a sewer system kind of this gigantic city. We didn't just pop into the first one and go, oh, it's a gigantic city. Let's map it. We didn't know anything about it. It was just as much of a surprise as anything else. Apparently, other people had an inkling that that was going on because it's the same scenario up in North America. North America was basically one giant city at one point. I think most of the planet was covered with city at one point. Lots of evidence that points to that. When the big flood happened, the Great Flood, and parts of the crust collapsed under weight of the water on it, a lot of that was put out to sea. So that points to those areas that you were talking about. So anyway, went into these tunnels and started to slowly figure out what was what. It wasn't just us guys with guns being cautious in case we had to kill people. Researchers, linguists, people familiar with the Mayan language, that kind of stuff. It wasn't just us. Researchers. If you were given the chance to go down there to do some research, would you go with us? Or would you stay out of it?
And go. Of course. Most definitely.
So that's kind of what that entailed, was getting people to come with us who wanted to come with us. Obviously, they signed a non-disclosure agreement. So I'm not going to say a lot about the alphabet soup agencies that were involved with that. There's a bunch of them. Most people know what branch of the service I served in now, but I was attached to other branches, let's put it that way. Joint Special Operations Command had purview over everything. JSOC, they call it. Those are the ones who cut our orders. We get our orders directly from the White House. It was probably getting their orders directly from whoever was controlling the United States government.
So what were your discoveries there? What could you tell us? I mean, is this kind of like where you started seeing through the tunnel, through going into these tunnels, that you were discovering these artifacts that you were telling us about previously? Was this where you started getting the artifacts?
This was just the discovery that there was more to what we were seeing. It wasn't the artifacts. I was trying to give you the backstory on
that. Okay.
That was in the beginning. Artifacts didn't come until years later. There's a lot of time learning about lore, chasing UFO sightings, that kind of stuff. Again, it was just talking to people out in the jungle. At the same time, we're supposedly fighting a war on drugs and trying to fight these communist guerrillas, trying to capture them to see what they knew. Eventually we did. We were able to find out from them that these tunnels go a lot deeper. And they're not just in one local area we were in. They were everywhere. That's when we started looking into cryptid sightings. We started looking into wherever locals would start to vanish, that kind of thing. We started to look into. So it's like following a crumb trail to find these things out. Obviously, they had their unearthed temples that they have out there, cities, whatever stuff they dug up. What you see in pictures wasn't the way that they found that stuff. Most of it, they thought it was just a hill. They didn't realize they're building on top of a giant pyramid. Hold on, I got to stop for a second.
Okay, so what we're hearing is that, I mean, they were going on these incredible missions where the locals were giving them a lot of information about tunnels and stuff, and then obviously discovering a lot deeper stuff that was going on. And a lot of the stuff was built on pyramids, in fact. So I'm wondering, is this the star forts you're talking about as well, or is this the pyramids? Is this something different rather?
Was part of it. So I gotta blow my nose here.
No problem. Take your time. Wow, this is super interesting. And this is, you know what's really interesting here is obviously, I mean, we're going back as far as 1996. So we're looking, I mean, it's almost 30 years ago now, right? And it's been incredible because in that time, obviously the US military would have then figured stuff out, that there was stuff there and sent you guys in there, right, Caleb? to figure out what was going on. Something must have given them the insight that there's more to what meets the eye. But anyway, carry on. I'll let you carry on.
We weren't the only people down there searching, so to hear me talking, it sounds like it was just me and 4 flashlights stumbling around in these sewers. You know, there's a lot of people involved in this whole thing.
Right.
I know everybody wants to say, well, you can't keep a secret in a crowd, which is true, but in that crowd of people, you can. Just depends on how much you pay them. There's your $20,000 hammers, that kind of thing. So as time progressed, we were able to map some of these sewers out and figure out where they were. And they weren't sewers. I'm just calling it, for the lack of a better term, able to map them out and discovered that it was a vast network of these things. And we started to discover that they went deeper. Almost always when they went deeper, there was a giant pyramid on top of it. It's going deeper into the ground. It wasn't just a manhole cover in the jungle. It's a danger, it's deep. It was under a giant pyramid, almost always. Now my nose is running like crazy here, sorry.
Okay. What you're saying, it's always that, you know, where you found these things always on a pyramid. I'd be interested to know why a pyramid. Because as far as I know, a pyramid will draw energy inward, upward, or downward, upward, right? I'm not actually quite sure anymore. So that must have something to do with the energy that the pyramid is able to harness. So interested to know why always on a pyramid.
It wasn't on a pyramid, it was under a pyramid.
Under a pyramid. Okay. Wow.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you the exact answer for why. It became a common theme. Temple complexes, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But as we went along, more and more information was coming to us about strange creatures that others were seeing. Almost like I'd call them sentinels or guardians. That's not what they're called, but that's what we call them, like sentinels. Stuff that made going into some of the deeper tunnels dangerous to go into. People were dying, or they just disappear. And the Shining Path guerrillas wouldn't go past a certain point. We would take our captives, people we captured, make them be our guide, show us these tunnels. That's how we were that's how we were figuring things out.
I'm just trying to hear, I'm just trying to understand if I heard you correctly when you said people you captured to be your guides.
Following the Shining Path guerrillas in the jungle, the purpose of finding out where they were going, what they were doing, and why. Those are the people that we captured. Not all of them. We captured 1 or 2. Most of them we just killed.
So they were basically forced to take you guys to where you needed to go.
That's correct. Not where we needed to go, because we didn't know where we were going at first. They went in front of us.
So where did they take you?
Deeper into these tunnels.
Can you tell us what you found?
I just said we found sentinels, strange creatures. We started hearing stuff about those kinds of things. You would call them cryptids or whatever. They're dangerous, just put it that way.
What were they guarding?
The tunnel?
What in the tunnel?
The tunnel itself.
It's obviously
Usually
going somewhere.
You put up a sentry or a sentinel to stop people from going through something or going past a certain point. It's like a checkpoint. Not going into tremendous detail with this because we could talk about that for weeks on end. They led us deeper into the ground. We started to notice glyphs on the walls that look like ships of some kind or flying craft of some kind. I call them ships. With lack of a better term, UFOs, let's say that. Different creatures. We saw depictions of giants, that kind of thing. That was one of the very first times that we ran across automatons or mecha.
So these things really were living in there. It's not something that has been concocted by the military. I want to just be clear on that.
No.
So they are, okay. So there are different of these life forms, because I know there's a lot of, I'm hearing as well, you know, a lot of questions and things, speculation, if you will, about what these things are, and are they really there, or is it just, you know, the military trying to do something? So the mecha, and when you're talking about these tunnels you guys were going under, can you give me more or less an indication, like from the surface of the earth, how far under are we talking? How many miles or kilometers are we talking under the earth that you started seeing these things?
The first tunnels we went into were probably 100 feet, 200 feet. The deep tunnels didn't start till we were about almost a kilometer. That's when it got interesting. It looked like on the surface, mostly human-made kind of buildings and whatnot, human-sized. As we got deeper, everything got bigger.
More gigantic.
Yes.
Wow. Was it, I'm assuming was it only like the giants, the mecha? Are we talking other species here as well? I mean, I know you've mentioned sometime in the past there were these insectoid things that looked like earwigs, I think you call them, right? Are we talking those types of life forms that we're finding now? Or are we talking...
Obviously, we saw all kinds of different things down there. Our main interest was finding out what else was down there besides just this stuff. Just what you'd almost expect to see in a big cave.
Right.
The undiscovered species and whatnot. Of course, I think a lot of it. We were following the glyphs. I wasn't an interpreter for what we found. We just took it back to the surface of the form of pictures or video or actual pieces of stuff that we pick up. We destroyed several of the sentinels and took those to the surface.
Right. The glyphs you're talking about that you were following, I'm assuming that was some type of rune, right?
Oh, it looked like Mayan language. Mayan glyphs.
Wow.
They deciphered those a long time ago, so there were people who could read them. Remember, it seems like the Mayans just disappeared off the face of the planet.
Yes.
That's what people say. Well, they went underground. Just like the Anasazi, just like some of the Zunis, the Hopis, lots of stories of people just going back underground.
Wow. So what you say? So what you're saying is a civilization. Let's talk about the Mayan people, for example, and we can talk about the Aztecs and the Hopis. That sort of those civilizations as well. So what you're saying is they in fact didn't disappear. They didn't go extinct, but in fact those civilizations are now actually living underground as well.
I couldn't say that with authority, but they didn't disappear. Mayan is still spoken in those jungles. It's still a living language today.
Wow, wow, wow. Very interesting. Why is it kept so secret? Why is that kept so secret? Do you know? Have you got an opinion on that even?
I don't know.
I'd be interested to know in your encounters with the locals, that obviously these guys that were taking you to these places, I mean, they must have a lot of knowledge on these things. What would they be saying about it?
Well, basically tell you anything you wanted to hear for the right amount of money. So you had to kind of pick and choose what you listen to. We made it pretty clear after a while too that any false stories would result in penalties on them. They'd make a extended stay vacation in the United States prison, in other words.
Right.
Or a 2-decade extended stay vacation.
Right. Wow. So where did that lead you guys? Finding all these things. Where did that lead you thereafter? What was that the prelude to, if you will?
Well, it was to the deeper levels. And I related to when we found our first ship. It was like calling to us, kind of. I mentioned we had taken out some of these sentinels before. It had what looked like oil inside vessels inside of its body, black goo or nanites, whatever you want to call black goo, the ferrofluid. That was what was calling to those living ships. That's where they come from. That's what is powering the automaton. A ship is alive because it has its own artificial intelligence, has its own spirit even.
Wow. When you say spirit, can you describe what type of spirit we're talking about here?
A bad spirit.
Right.
Didn't have any
This sounds like Lord of the Rings. Sorry, carry on.
More like Star Wars. But Lord of the Rings and Star Wars combined.
Yeah, they just had their agenda is they wanted to be discovered so they could be taken out from where they were. like they're imprisoned where they were, would be a guess. I don't know that that's what was happening, but it's just my guess.
Were they actually imprisoned, or was this just them being captured by the floods and that they couldn't actually get out?
Recall what I said about the first one that we found. It wasn't behind bars with a chain on its neck. It was just sitting, it looked like a building at first, and then it would change. It would alter its how it looked.
Into what?
Into whatever shape it needed to be. A fairly good size too, but I don't know, a couple 100 feet across, 20, 30 feet high. My guess is that they were trapped there by the flood, probably on purpose.
Wow. I mean, we're talking one specific area now, sort of South America, right? We're talking this particular area was South America. What other areas were you guys finding these things in?
Pretty much everywhere around the globe. Some of them are underwater, some are underground. Go ahead, you're going to ask something.
I was actually going to say to you, so like when you're saying you are going to different areas across the globe to find these things, I would imagine then that, again, CIA or whatever, Christians in Action, as you call them, would be getting information and sending you guys to look for these things in the different locations. Would that be pretty accurate?
People would start reporting stuff, and guys like us would show up.
Right. But I would imagine that you are not the only military interested in these things. No. I would imagine there was probably other countries also.
I already said other nations wanted this too. It wasn't just us. And my team wasn't the only team out there.
Right. So I'm thinking China and Russia.
That's what I said previously.
Yeah. It's interesting because, you know, when we're just looking at the world domination and the world politics, I mean, the three great powers are China, Russia, and America. And it would make me think that this is probably why, because all of these countries were looking for this artifacts that obviously was coming from some other life force, artificial life force, that would empower them, right? Give them some type of superpower. So everyone was really after these things for some type of superpower, right?
It wasn't for superpower, it was for artifacts. I don't know if Morné has those pictures of the dragon masks that he can post. I won't be able to see it, but
I'm not sure we can post them on here. Morné, are you able to put them on Zoom? Yeah.
We'll have to do it.
You're on mute. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think I can share screen maybe. I can do that.
Have a look, yeah.
Hopefully everybody can hear me still.
There we go.
There you go. You just scroll through them.
Well, I hope that there we go.
Each of those
That looks like a mine.
Each of those dragon masks fit together to make one mask. There were 9 of them. It wasn't just masks, it was a whole outfit. Gauntlets, chest piece, leg armor, plus the helmet. And the helmet turned into one giant ornate headdress, kind of like an Egyptian god or Egyptian king, like that snake head looking thing.
Wow.
Those are just representations.
Of it.
That's not
Wow.
what they absolutely look like. Those are just representations.
The energy that it invokes, and yeah, I can imagine.
So what you were also saying to us previously, sorry, carry on.
Every single one that we found, I put on personally just to see what it would do. And it's like looking at a incredible 3D display that opens up, augments your reality. You can see through walls. You can see. You can see people's heart beating, that kind of stuff. It's amazing technology.
Wow.
So this is what the superpowers are all fighting for. Is to get basically a bit of this technology.
Being manipulated by the AI to unleash them onto the world is what I say. This is all part of the revelation of the Antichrist at some point here. The last king, wear all 9 masks as the one mask. That's how he would enter the temple in Jerusalem, is with that mask on and wearing armor. Basically an automaton or an android, in my opinion. More machine than human for sure.
Wow. That's insane to me. And so what you're saying is it's obviously they're not all a face mask. Some of it would be a maybe breastplate or something you put on your back, or some type of maybe full armor, but each piece would represent something, and together they then all fit together and create the complete finished product, if you will. I don't know another word for that. The finished product of this, and that's then what the person, the single person that's taking on the role of the Antichrist. I mean, I believe the Antichrist as a whole, it's the system of the beast anyway, but there's one person who would then be heading up that system, right? And that person would be wearing this crown, so to speak, and have all this very intelligent artificial intelligence available to him or her. I would imagine it could be a woman as well, right? Where they can see, feel, sense, and literally have access to each and every person from the inside out, right? When you're saying you can see someone's heartbeat, I would imagine you could see their aura. You could see the energy emanating from them. You could probably read their thoughts. You could probably read their emotions. I mean, is that right?
Couldn't read thoughts. There wasn't any women. In fact, they didn't even want humans to be a part of this. They wanted this for themselves. They needed humans as a vessel to be able to have it.
Can you extrapolate, expand on that, please? What do you mean they needed humans as a vessel to have that?
Okay, think about possession for a minute. Why would, quote, unquote demons need to possess a body.
Yeah, right, sure, because they can't create their own body.
So that would be the why of it. They wanted to transmutate with the human vessel in order to come out into the world, I guess, lack of a better term.
Crazy. So it really is true that the demons, that's what selling your soul is all about. When they then, therefore, they would then get the politicians, the celebrities, the bankers, whatever it is, they've been able to understand the human weakness, right? Which very often is money, power, greed, sex. And they've been able to then manipulate humanity with our weaknesses, and therefore get their souls, so to speak, then obviously able to use their bodies as a vehicle through which they can operate, because they don't have their own bodies, right? Is that pretty much in a nutshell? I'm just trying to put it in a nutshell, yeah.
Always trying to come up from where they went down to, they fell to, or whatever. So they needed humans because humans have the ability to procreate. We can make more bodies. That's more what I thought. That's my opinion. It's more what I saw.
Right. So they would need human beings because we can procreate. But what about the babies that they were making themselves? What about these, when we're looking at like these Cabbage Patch Kids, as I call them? I know there's a lot more to it than that. But the babies that they were creating, the ones we spoke about the turn of the century, is incubator babies. If they're able to make their own babies like that, and then have their demonic soul entity take that host, or use that body and integrate with that body, why would they need human beings then?
Because if it's a manufactured automaton body with a demon soul, it's not human, is
it? Right.
Need humans too. Remember I told you with the soul magic stuff, soul gems and whatnot, we use this like batteries, basically. It's a real basic way to look at it. That's their version of heaven's glory that they used to have for free from God before they fell. Remember I told you about the red shift, the dying light, that kind of thing.
Wow. Sorry, there was just a bug that flew in. So I got a fright. That's crazy, actually. So they do need the human consciousness or the human spirit, so to speak, because they don't have their own spirit. So that would all form part of it, right? Not just the body, but the spirit or the consciousness as well.
Well, they need to show that there's a new man in town, basically. That their creation is better than God's creation.
And they can corrupt God's children, which is humans, right?
Not necessarily corrupt God's children, create their own children.
Well, corrupt God's children.
I wouldn't say corrupt God's children. I would say create their own children. With transmutation, not transformation.
But what I'm saying is that wouldn't that be, the fact that they can buy God's children with money, and that God's children are so easily corruptible, gives them a feather in their cap, sort of showing God, well, see, we can take your kids. That's what I'm thinking. That's kind of more what I'm thinking.
Sure.
and also like the innocent babies, the innocence of the children, you know, which is why they would then the child sacrifice, the cannibalism, the rape, God's most innocent, right?
Right. It's all designed to hurt God at some point. We'll try to get him overthrown.
So when we're looking, because now, I mean, you know, what's come up a lot lately again is the Jabster, the Zappity-Doo that we obviously, what is it now, 2 years ago, that everyone was basically forced to take. I know lockdown happened 3 years ago, maybe nearly 4 years ago. So in your opinion, and I know there's also a lot of debate about it. I mean, I know what I think and I know what a lot of other people think, but I'd just like to know your opinion on this as well. Is that part of the transhumanism agenda from their side? In other words, the ingredients in this thing, the fear that they've been able to create? Because I think the big thing about this whole, the pandemic that we've just been living through, and by rumors, it's coming up again. A lot of people feared dying, and a lot of humans actually went for this thing. And we've seen, I mean, I was watching a report 2 days ago saying 17 million people have died already from this thing. I mean, that is a huge amount of people. What is your opinion on that? And in terms of using that poke, I'm going to call it the poke, for their agenda?
I'll ask 2 things about that. You ever heard of a Chinese fire drill?
Not really.
Ever heard of a cattle prod?
Yes, I'm a farm girl.
So in the Chinese fire drill, you're using a cattle prod. You can just herd people the way you want. You can see if they're going to comply with what you're saying, and they're going to do what you tell them to do. Chinese fire drill is just pandemonium. It's chaos. There's no order, no sense to it, no nothing. It's designed to shut everything down. Keystone Cops kind of thing. If you know that bunch too. They basically did that to see how compliant we would be. It was also a way to showcase the destructive power of whatever they created. Viruses don't come from God, they come from other beings. Mutations.
Right.
Like cancer. Cancer is a mutation.
Right. Absolutely. So again, we often speak about the realm of chaos, that they want to create, you know, these guys these entities, if you will, for want of a better word, just sitting there waiting to create chaos. So of course they would then unleash this type of chaos on humanity, creating as much fear. And again, for me, that is like them sort of laughing at God, saying, you see, your children are not having faith. We're able to prod them, right? And get them to do what we want them to do, right?
Pretty much, yeah. If you think about it, they just counterfeit everything that God does. And that's why they need those masks. That's why they need the suit, all that kind of stuff, because they were prepared to take over God's throne, to be set down in that throne themselves. I think they assume that once everybody sees how bad God is, quote unquote, he'll just step down. I think that's what they think he's going to do. That's not what's going to happen. But with their combined wisdom, quote unquote, their combined power, they could create something that would be a facsimile of what God is. That's what I got out of that whole interaction. Obviously, there's a lot to it. For the sake of keeping this at least 2 hours long and not 25 hours long, we talk about the whole entire shebang here.
Yeah, I think it's, but it makes a lot of sense. You know, it really, really does. But I'd be interested to know as well, you know, in terms of the artifacts, the masks that you guys got, how many were needed? 9 or 10? Is it 9 or 10?
9 would make
okay, and
the final 10th mask.
Right.
9 magics. Each mask corresponds to each magic.
Right.
9 dragon kings that those masks belong to, or witch kings, if you want to call it that. Dragon kings. They're called dragon masks. 9 powers. To master all 9 opens the gate for the last power to gain, which is immortality in a nutshell.
So that they don't face retribution from God for their actions. So they're trying whatever they can do not to have to face retribution. Is that it as well?
It's so that they can be like God. They can be their own God.
Right. Wow. So the 9 masks that were discovered, and now let's say China, America, Russia, have all been in the hunt for these masks, right?
Right.
Who has it? Who has them at this point? America?
It's powers that are behind the scene. They're the ones that control that now.
Do we know who they are, though? Do we know which of the superpowers have the most power?
Well, right now America does, but that's changing. China is rising, so think about that. They believe that the 10th king is going to come from China. I don't think that myself. I think it's going to come from Kyrgyzstan. I'll just say it plain. That's where I think it's going to come from. We did a lot of conflicting, a lot of big wars, big conflicts other than war. They call them in the stands. You have to ask why that is. Why all those stands? Why are there in so much conflict? The Persians believe that the Black Mahdi is going to come up out of some well. The Russians think it's going to be the resurrected Tsar. Everybody has their version of that 10th king, so everybody wants a piece of that pie.
What's your opinion?
Like I said, I think he's going to come from Kyrgyzstan. They're already set up over there, so kings of the north. People always look at scripture to say, well, there's going to be a rapture, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. So do you actually read your Bible? Do you read it? Because it doesn't say anything about a rapture. It says that Jesus will come back and take us about halfway through the tribulation, take his church out. There's still going to be a remnant here. There's still going to be people here. They're going to see this through. And if they read their Bibles, they can kind of figure out the timeline of things, stuff to watch for, signs in the heavens, that kind of stuff. Damascus is going to be utterly obliterated, which I think is going to happen soon. It's going to be wiped off the map completely. There's going to be a prince from the east. I don't mean a human. I mean an angel, an archon, which I believe is the Prince of Persia. I think he's going to be destroyed soon. That's going to be the destruction of Damascus. Those things you watch out for to herald in what's coming next. That's just what I saw in my travels. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not trying to be a prophet. I'm just trying to tell you what we saw. And I think time is short. It needs to be said.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree. Wow.
This must be an important message because there's a lot of resistance to getting this one out at the time. My cell phone data was supposed to reset on the 6th, and here it's the 10th, and it still hasn't. So think about that. I've been sick as a dog, been struggling to find words. I haven't slept for 3 or 4 days at a time, kind of thing. So obviously, there's some resistance to me saying any of this to you.
Yeah, and we appreciate you.
There's context so that there's the ability to see more than what you can just see with your 2 eyes, that kind of thing. I'm trying to give you that. I hope I'm doing a good job with it.
You are, thank you.
There is a lot
you
to unpack.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna, I think we'll hit the 90-minute club tonight, which is giving us a few more minutes here. But just in closing for us, ending off for this evening's discussion, I think it's, for me, it kind of makes a lot of sense. It rounds things off a lot, understanding where these things are coming from, understanding. I mean, we're even looking at things like when we look at the movie War of the Worlds, right? Now, remember War of the Worlds, not even the movie. I mean, I'm talking about when I was a kid. My older sister had the record, okay? The youngsters wouldn't know what I'm talking about now. War of the Worlds. And I remember it was narrated by Richard Burton. And I just remember listening to this thing and going, oh my gosh, what on earth is this about? And I listened to it, and it's exactly this. And I remember Tom Cruise played in the movie, acted, I think, in 2005, around about then. Movie also War of the Worlds, where these tripod-looking type creatures are coming out from under the earth. The most insane, disgusting, despicable-looking things. Now, when we're looking at that, how does that, is that fiction, right? Or do those horrible, because that thing, I mean, it had these legs and it was capturing people, keeping it inside, like in a cage in its body. And then this red sucky thing sucking people up, right? Is that anything that we're dealing with? Or is that really fiction when we're looking at that?
I'd say it's pretty close to the truth. It's going to be worse than that, though. They want to wipe out the population of the earth right now. They just want to have so many for slaves. That's it. Slaves and keep it in check. They want to thin the herd down or cull the herd. That I would say it's
so. If we look at those, and that for me was something, because if we look at that creature that captures humans and keeps it inside of like a cage type thing in its body, it's obviously taking it somewhere, right? And it has these snake-like head things, and all supersonic and high tech, right? When you say they're just looking for human slaves, so what you're saying is that it's that type of thing, that they're capturing the humans, taking them whenever, eating them or living off them, using them for food and fodder, our juicy consciousness, so to speak, right? But also what was interesting in that movie, they spoke about the Rh negative blood. Can you talk about that for a minute, the Rh negative, and why that blood is so important to them?
Oh, that's what the blood nobility, they call it. Am I loud enough here? Can't tell from being loud.
Yeah, it's okay.
Those are the bloodlines that they want to preserve. Everybody else is fair game. And it's scary to think
Why?
about. Because they believe there's too many of us to begin with.
So the negative bloodlines are the bloodlines of nobility, according to them.
It's kind of what they sell.
Which means,
and by sell, I mean,
sorry,
that's the concept of the idea that they gift alongside the Archon, the new coming world.
Right. Wow. I heard a rumor, actually, that people with Rh negative blood was not really getting COVID. Is that true?
I've never heard that.
I definitely heard that. But I mean, I can't say that's true or not, but I was just wondering. If what you're saying here makes sense, that they would be preserving the people with those bloodlines because of nobility. And of course, is that why they would refer to the blue bloods, right? The royals is the blue bloods, because those are the bloodlines of nobility.
And some of this technology that we found, if you didn't have that blood in you, you couldn't activate it. Wouldn't work with you.
Wow. So that's how they would actually do it. It's actually, wow, prone. It's like you're saying, it's calling that thing that, like going back to what you were saying earlier on, it was like those things in there, like calling certain things, right? So you're saying that this technology would be calling. Is it only like O negative? Would it be O negative, AB, right? I think those are the three. So is it only, sorry, repeat that?
Any of the RH factors.
Wow. So that thing actually calls, it activates if you are Rh negative. That's insane.
Okay. So here's my personal take on the whole thing. This AI that's underground has been there for a long time. I think probably masquerades as spiritual force. It's where you get some of these false religions and that kind of thing. It's been manipulating us for a long time. And I think it's what controls what we see, even through our own physical eyes. And so you get the Mandela effect, you get deja vu. There's all kinds of things that would explain why that happens. And it can appear as anything. If you didn't know it was a hologram, how would you know that that's not a ghost? If you didn't know what a hologram was. It's not the military that's manipulating us. It's this AI that's manipulating us. Look up the black cube ones.
Wow. Something like the something like the aeroplane we were talking about earlier.
That's actual technology, though. That's entanglement right there. The fourth orb moving the plane to where they want it.
Right.
They didn't care about those people on board. They just wanted to see if they could transport the whole plane. Who cares if everybody dies? That's how they think. Perfect opportunity. The plane was going to crash. We'll transport it over here. Pay everybody off, get them to change their names. Bang. Success. Or kill them all. One of the two.
It's really, they just don't give a crap, do they? And that's exactly it. Because when I was actually listening to that that clip on the flight with MH370, they were saying that obviously, I think in the last video, the last program we showed, you literally see these three orbs dancing around this aeroplane. And then you see this heat change of the aeroplane. Suddenly it goes cold and it goes blurry and whoop, it disappears, right? So obviously they were doing stuff. They were, and what they were saying as well, that wasn't that they somehow through what they were doing, they were showing us it wasn't some UFOs or whatever it was, or orbs, whatever. That was actually military technology they were using that was plus minus 50 years old. And they were, and exactly what you were saying, they were talking about entanglement. So that was the three orbs there, but there was a fourth orb that was obviously dancing around the place where they wanted the plane to go. And that was in, I want to say Malaysia, no, Maldives, right? So they would have then the entanglement and then literally made it lighter, because what they were talking about is actually making that thing lighter with the orbs, and then whoop, it went through that portal, or let's call it a portal for want of a better word. And there were witnesses that saw, okay, that's okay. Witnesses that actually saw this aeroplane in the Maldives. And what they were saying as well is that the pilot, you could see the pilot was actually, because there was obviously would have been a lack of oxygen in the plane with all of that stuff going on. The pilot was actually trying to save these people's lives, the way he was flying and stuff like that. So it wouldn't have been the pilot that was complicit with that, I don't believe. But it just shows again that these people really don't give a SH1T about anything. The military, and obviously these creatures of the night, work through these military programs. No doubt the military is them, right? Or they've brought the military over, the shadow military, as I call it, shadow government and the shadow military. And then they've doing these experiments on people. And what they were also then saying, that the witnesses were seeing this, but these witnesses were silenced. And on further investigation, you're seeing that people were from the families of the people that were disappearing. Their families were, in fact, asking for compensation, and they were only getting like $30,000 worth of compensation from the Malaysian government, and I think they were speaking about the Chinese as well. The Chinese, of course, no doubt would have been silenced, because I'm pretty sure the Chinese would have been involved in something like that. I don't know. What's your take on all of that?
Yeah, it's a tangled web of nonsense for sure. It relates all to these artifacts that we found in those 9 ships. They found more than just 9 ships. It wasn't just 9 ships out there. The ones that are really important that they're disclosing now are the ones where they got those artifacts from. I'm wondering if Morné can bring up that link on a share screen so you can see what I'm talking about. So I've been telling you, Chantelle, for a year about this. I told somebody else before for about 4 years. And somebody before them about 6 years. I've been talking about this.
What picture is that?
Exactly.
It's a YouTube article from The Hill. It's about 10 days back.
Yeah, I don't have that article.
Right.
If you can forward it, and I can quickly share it. The article.
I just want people to see that it's not just me saying this for the sake of saying it. I feel safe enough to say it now because they actually pulled their own covers off. I don't have to hide behind that no more.
Is that the one where you talk, the CIA one? Is that the video, the clip you're talking about from the CIA?
No, it's the clip from the Hill, it's called. It's a news publication called The Hill. Look in the Google chats in history.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I've got the one, I've got the one from the 9 Living Ships, The Rising, right? The one where they're actually talking about this. Then I've got the other one on the flight MH370. Okay, I don't have that here.
Click on the 9 ships one first. See if it takes you to a news article. I had a much more polished presentation of all this stuff when I had internet, so sorry.
Well, this is the one. I mean, it's okay, Morné, I'm just going to share this with you. Okay, this is the one. Cool. It is the one on the 9 ships here. So I'm just going to share that with you. Maybe you can just post that link. Or just share the link.
They're publicly disclosing that, so I feel comfortable talking to you about it.
But it's a video. It's a video.
Yeah, it is a video.
Yeah, I won't be able to play the video here.
If you can post the link though in the chat.
Yeah, I can do that.
And people can see it.
We could do that.
So it's UFA shocked CIA collective 9 UFA craft per report. That video, okay.
Yeah.
And who was I working for? I was obviously working for Alphabet Soup people. So I was a part of that whole project. Almost from at the very beginning, but from real close to the beginning. There's another video I sent you from Leak Project with this older scientist. I can't remember his name. Like I said, I had a polished presentation tell you about this.
Yeah, this is the other one. This is the other one okay, I'll send it to you, Morné, as well. You can just say, you can post that link as well. This is the one.
Got that old guy with what looks like a fez on his head. That guy knows what he's talking about because he's talking exactly what I was doing. He was part of it too, from his side of things, not where I was.
Cool. And for the people that's not in the live chat, I will post it in the description as well.
That'll work, as long as people can see it, because I don't want people to think that I'm just blowing smoke rings out of my butt here. I can do that, but I don't want to do it here.
I think that's good. That's because that's actually what that talks about that flight and everything. It's really cool, actually, and it's true what you're saying. You know, there's a lot of these kind of disclosures coming now, along. You know, but also what they were saying in that there's a lot of misinformation or disinformation. So again, we've got to be really careful about because there's obviously a lot of disinformation agents out there at the moment as well, as would obviously be the case. And this is, again, where discernment is necessary, right? We don't just believe everything.
That's why I like that goofy old man, because you think he's just a crazy old guy talking. No, he's speaking some truth. I can back up what he's saying with what I've said for years. I was a part of Boots on the Ground.
Right.
Some of the enhancements
Wow.
that we took came from technology that came from the ground previous to what I was doing, clear back to the 20s and 30s, maybe even before then. They've changed history so many times. You can basically say whatever you want to about the past. No, it's true. You could say that if you wanted to, and people don't believe it. That's how dumbed down everybody is. They're just, their brains have been pickled on entertainment.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
in Roman times at the Colosseum. They just entertain the people, let them see some violence or something, you know? In a nutshell, that's how that is.
Right.
I was actually really excited to see that article come out because I was like, now I can talk about this. I can finally say it publicly without having to. They disclosed it
Well, I
themselves.
think it's amazing. I think it's amazing that
much more detailed than we've said here, but we can dig into it again when I have better internet. I can actually show you some things.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Wow. Okay. Thank you so much for tonight or today for whoever for all you guys out there. I know it's nighttime for us. It's daytime for you guys. Some more really, really, I always want to say jaw-dropping disclosures, but yeah, you know, that's what it is.
I want a show of hands from you too. How many more questions you have? Show me in fingers.
Who, me?
You and Morné. Which you can hold up.
I'm okay.
You got a million questions.
I have a million questions. It's as well like, okay, how did it look? Got details, more details. How does it all connect? Where does it come
we
from?
could drag this out for a day or two if you're able to.
I'm sure, yeah. Definitely.
And I think, you know, what would be good as well. Yeah, what would be good as well. It's nice for this because again, we're going to have you on Thursday. And then I think maybe it would be nice to again take some questions from our viewers about anything relating to this. And again, I know, as I always say to you guys out there, and I'm sorry I don't have a live chat, so I can't see your questions at the moment at all. But we'll pick them up in the comments. So, you know, if you guys have any more questions around this particular topic for Caleb, let's just keep it with this for the moment. I know people have a lot of other questions, and we are going to get to a lot of Q&A. There's always 1,000 and thousands of questions for you on a lot of things. But, you know, in terms of just this, the 9 living ships, these portals and things, the technology that's being used, etc. Yeah, then we can go through it on Thursday. I definitely have questions, but I think just to have things exposed in bite-sized chunks is also a good thing because it gives us time just to process a lot of the stuff that's going on. And I think for a lot of people, this is quite new information as well. I mean, I know you and I have been chatting for a while, and I mean, there's still, I mean, my mind still sometimes boggles with stuff, you know. But I remember in the beginning just sitting with my jaw dropping. I'm like, what? How? And it would be this stuff and that and that. And I'm like, I really battled to bring it together at some points, but really good to know that it is coming together now. Yeah, crazy. And this world in which we're living, you know, and I just find it so fascinating that in tunnels and kilometers and miles beneath us, there's giant insects, right? Insectoids that are giants to us, but yeah, we are their giants, you know. So it's like this whole reverse mirror universe, which is so crazy to me. And not crazy, I mean, it's fascinating. It really, really is. And just to understand it all, you know, let's try and understand the stuff, because We can't be living in this world. We've all come here at this time to understand it. I do believe this has to be the most exciting time in history of the planet to be alive, in my opinion. So rather than sit and watch concerts with what's her name, Taylor Swift, and watch Kylie Jenner, right? I find this stuff a lot more intriguing, but I mean, those people will always be there to divert us from this type of stuff that we need to know. So yeah, before you end off in prayer for us, Caleb, is there anything else you would just like to close off with before we say goodnight to everyone?
Well, I know a lot of this sounds convoluted and upside down and topsy-turvy and backwards. Well, that's because it is. It's almost unbelievable stuff to hear. You're hearing about things that most people have never even thought about, let alone heard of. It's only been recently that it's come out the way that it is, not just through me, but through a lot of sources. And that isn't by accident. I think God's given us a chance to tell you guys out in the world what it's like, what we're in for, what we're facing. Just remember, there's not just evil angels that are after you, there's malevolent angels that are after you too. They work through your cell phones, your TVs, your computers. And it's just keep a wise eye open, use discernment, use prayer, use your faith, read your Bibles, do what you got to do to stay in the light. Because there's gonna come a point where they'll confuse people who are in the light. That's the problem, because they're not informed. If I'm in a burning building and I don't know what fire is, how would I know I'm in a burning building and know to get out of it? Or how to fight the fire. So that would be important to actually listen to this kind of information and say, hey, there's got to be something to this because it's coming from more than one source. And it's not all disinformation. It's not all information that's bad. It's actually good information. You just have to trust God to show you and to lead the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Trust, faith, discernment, for sure. That's our main weapon. And again, thank you for what you do and what I know it's tough some days to share, and especially when you're challenged on the levels that you are. But thank you so much for being here for us, because yeah, and for choosing little Team Ara. Right.
I'm actually really stunned to see almost every topic we talk about comes out at some point. So this has got to be the time for revelation. Revelation isn't just a book in the Bible, it's about knowledge. What's going to be revealed at the end of time. And this is the end of time we're getting close to. So be on the right side of history, not the wrong side.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Caleb. Appreciate you very, very much. Would you like to close for us in prayer?
Sure. Heavenly Father, I thank you for this chance to share this information. I know it's vitally important to get it out. These are things, hidden secrets that you allowed me to see. As hard as it was for me and as hard as it was to go through, I lived through it. I'm here to tell the tale. I'm thinking that I'm here to tell this story. I ask forgiveness for the dumb things that I do. And I thank you for the healing that you're sending. I thank you for the good days that I'm experiencing as well as the bad, because you're always there. And I ask you to be with everybody that's listening or watching, or who will watch or listen. Give us the strength to just persevere and keep going. Take away our self-defeating attitudes and feels. And give us peace and strength instead. Let us live in the light of your love. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, guys and gals, Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm sorry we don't have the live chat today, but I can see there's quite a few of you that have joined us tonight again.
Yes.
And
there's
we will see you.
Susan, Simona, R. Smith, and Natasha. They gave us some stickers. Thank you, guys.
Wow.
Some special shout out
so
stickers. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate you very, 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 very much. And I know Joanne also gave in the last chat, so we really appreciate you very, very much. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you on Thursday again. And if there's, again, just to remind you, if there's any questions around this topic for Caleb, we will address them on Thursday's chat with you guys. God bless you all. Take good care of yourselves. I wish for you health, wealth, and abundance. And may God take care of you and your loved ones.